Hello and welcome to the Southbound Sports Show. I'm your host, Richie Leahy, here with my co-host, Matty B. We got another summertime show, but this one, another in-person event I went to. Not so much just like a celebration of a championship like I did with the Hurricanes. Went to the World Cup. It's something I had talked about probably for like 8 years. When did they announce that it was coming to the United States? It's been a while. And just for the experience, right? Didn't really care what teams I was going to see. I was hoping that Poland would make it because I knew the United States was all the way out west. And I wasn't hyped on this United States team. I thought if we were coming in as like one of the favorites, I would spend the money and make it a point to go see the United States. But the United States came in playing so poorly that I didn't really care. I thought, man, I'm not going to spend money to watch us lose to Turkey or whatever we did the last game. Now, surprisingly, the United States won the first two games, and then I was starting to feel a little hype, and I was kind of bummed out. I thought, man, maybe I should have, but we'll see how it goes. Because if the United States makes a run and would make it all the way to the finals or something, then we'll see if we have an actual team. Because I think if I was going to go support the United States, I'd want to go do it in a different country. Because I think the next World Cup is in 4 years. It's going to be in Spain or something. So how many Americans are really going to go travel to Spain to watch a World Cup team when we're probably going to be underdogs? Not many. At least for the group stage. So I had narrowed it down. I wanted to go see Poland play or Ireland. And both of them had to play in March as kind of the play-in tournament. And I think they both lost with one game to go. And then that sucked all the life out of it for me. Because I thought, man, I've been hyped for this. I wanted to go to the World Cup. I wanted to experience it. I thought maybe go see some fans of other countries. I know I had some heritage on both sides. So going with either Ireland or Poland would be awesome. And I think Ireland was supposed to play in Atlanta if they made it. And Poland was supposed to play in Texas, which was a bit of a drive. So instead, I just thought, I'm going to key up an Atlanta game. Going from North Carolina to Atlanta is not that far. Get a hotel, which was surprisingly easy. Because I had people say, oh, you're going to have to mortgage your house to go. World Cup is expensive. It's going to be horrible. And I talked about those other guys that were doing travel notes and going to all these games, and everyone was saying how can these guys afford it? Blah, blah, blah. The tickets were not expensive at all. Now they are. If you're going to the elimination round, easily could spend $1,000 or whatever on nosebleeds, if not more. I think some of the ones I was looking at were $2,000. But before that, you could easily get tickets for under face value. I think a lot of the tickets were $200 or less. And then even the lower ones were $500 and less. So by any means. Now, some of the more popular teams that had fans, of course, I ended up going to see Congo and Uzbekistan just because that was the game that was on Saturday. I also looked at going to Philly, and I don't remember who was playing there. But for the extra drive, I figured, and Philly was more money. I thought, it's not worth it. Right? It wasn't going to see a major player or anything, so I didn't really care.
Yeah.
But I will say for people that were hesitant to go because of the money thing, it wasn't that bad. Honestly, if I would have got a hotel even further away, because hotels were only going for $100 a night. Not going to lie. And so I don't know what people expected. Oh man, you're going to be traveling. You're going to be paying a ton of money. I'm that's a normal vacation price, man. And there were tons of hotels and tickets available. When I got to the game, they did say that it was sold out. And looking around, there were a lot of empty seats. Some people I don't know what they were doing, but it seemed depending on where you looked on the FIFA site or even Ticketmaster or one of the other resellers, people were just setting the price for their resale tickets $20,000. And I thought, dude, who is going to pay 20 grand when you can just get a ticket one seat over for $200? I assume it was like some type of, I don't care, I'll see if anyone buys it. Or maybe they were just like seeing if anyone would buy it. I really don't know. Like I didn't go back and look to see if any of them ended up selling. Because if it did end up being a sellout, but like if they already bought the tickets and then were trying to resell them at super high prices, it still counts as a ticket sold even if that dude doesn't show up. So that's what I assume happened. I thought they would drop the prices for some of them, but some of them, like the last day I looked was like going in 2 days in advance. Because I bought my tickets early and I thought, am I going to regret it? If I wait, are the tickets going to go down? Because they were saying a lot of tickets were getting dumped because people were trying to make money back on them, reselling them. And I got mine directly through the FIFA app, which was horrible. I don't know if anyone else had that experience, but when you went through, I clicked the tickets. It was like their own version of Ticketmaster. Tickets were like $300 like cheaper on there. So like you can get ones for like $100 or $200, whatever it was. I think like some of the lowest I saw were like 150. If you would look at that same ticket on Ticketmaster, it would be like 350, which was suspicious to me. So like I thought, is FIFA the one selling these tickets? And they're just making the prices up, knowing that average American guy is going to look at Ticketmaster or StubHub or whatever they are first. And then FIFA pockets an extra $200. Because I don't know any other way to explain it. Because like it was consistent. Seat for seat, you could have the same seat on a couple different sites. And I don't know if the Ticketmaster fees were just that high, which would be insane. Cause I didn't try to resell mine. I thought, man, I should just hit the resell thing on FIFA and see what options it gives me. And then I thought, man, if I mess up my tickets, my kid's going to kill me. They'd be like, Dad, what are you doing? I sold the tickets back, bro. I'm sorry. I didn't think it was actually going to go live because I didn't trust their website. I went in, I clicked tickets. I wanted them low. I wanted them in the corner, right? Because I thought you'd be able to see right down like the line and like be able to kind of see the full view if you wanted, near enough to where the fan sections were behind the goals so that like you can kind of cheer, but it wouldn't be obnoxiously loud. And I click on them, add them to cart. It says you have 15 minutes to check out. I go in, I type all my information in, and it's like proceed to purchase. And it says, oh, your tickets were sold. And I thought, how? It said I had 15 minutes. That took me like 2 minutes. And so I'm like, all right, let me just refresh the page. And I go in there and the tickets are gone, right? They like have the map and they're gone. And I thought, okay, well, there's like that entire row's empty. So I'll just buy the ones right beside it. I go in, click it, go through it. Same thing happens. Oh, tickets are gone. I thought no one is buying these tickets because like I told you, I got a couple weeks early. So I had an eye on them to see if they're going up and down and they weren't really moving. So I thought I'm going to nab them because if they start to go up, I'm going to be pissed that I waited for like what reason? Like my own personal like research to talk about on the podcast to see how the tickets went. Because eventually they did go up. Like I kept an eye on it. Like after I bought mine, the tickets did start to go up and I was like, thank God I bought them. Because I don't know, like, is someone from Uzbekistan going to like to make a last second decision to fly into Atlanta? I have no idea. Or the Congo. Both teams were trying, I think, advance for the first time. I think that was Congo's first win I saw of all time. So that's a good tidbit. Someone asked like, oh, what game do you see? I saw Congo's first World Cup win ever in history. And if they make it pretty far, that could be a good story. I don't know. Who knows, right? But I thought, man, there's no way that someone's buying these exact tickets on a random. It was like, I think it actually might have been after the podcast one week, like a couple weeks ago. I called my buddy. I said, bro, I'm going to get tickets in this row. There's a whole bunch of them. I'll give you my seat numbers once it goes through, and then you can just get the ones. There's like a whole row here. I said, even if you don't get the same ones, we might be able to switch at the game if the people are like, oh yeah, we'll just move 2 seats down, And it wouldn't let me buy any of them. So I thought, all right, I should just like maybe try again tomorrow. And I thought on a last second whim, because I'm already on the phone, I said, let me just try to just clear my cookies and try an incognito window. As soon as I did that, all those seats showed up back available. So like I had put a hold on like an entire row myself, I think. Because then after I bought the tickets, he said, bro, that entire row's gone. I said, no, that's me. Like, I think it was like glitching. So I said, I put all those tickets in my cart. I said, wait, I said, originally it said 15 minutes. So I said, I'll hang out on the phone with you. We'll like just BS or whatever. And then after 15 minutes, do an incognito window and see if they show up. Boom. That entire row showed up. It was like insane that we're troubleshooting over the phone. He goes in to buy the tickets and it was like, your credit card is not accepted. And he was like, what? Like it was like an official Visa partner. And so I just went through and did like the Visa checkout, which went through and was pretty simple. Like it made me just sign in and it went through. And he was like, I did the same thing. Didn't work. He said he tried his other credit card, didn't work. So then he's like, I don't know what to do. So I hop off and I'm like, well, Ditto, I hope you get him. I got to go to bed. Do what you got to do. And he said he called his card company and they told him, we don't see any pending authorizations. Like FIFA didn't try to charge your card. We don't know why they're canceling it on their end before you could do it. So finally, I don't know what ended up happening, if he had to get his girlfriend's card or something, but finally he had a card that worked the next day. Of course, all those tickets were still available. And he's like, dude, I got the seats next to you. Finally, I had to like borrow a different card because for whatever reason, it wouldn't use his card. And he didn't have, like, who has 100 credit cards to like be buying World Cup tickets on? You would expect that it would just work. I don't know. So that's my experience with the FIFA side, purchasing tickets. Yeah, going through their website, a lot cheaper. They put them on your like Google Wallet or Apple Pay. I get to the stadium and the Mercedes-Benz Stadium or whatever the Atlanta Stadium's called. They were like, oh, hey, we don't actually have a scanner to do that. And I said, well, why did it say that you did? And they said, we don't know. And they're like, you have to open up the FIFA app. We can't do touch tickets. We have to scan the actual ticket card code. And I was like, bro, I've been to a bunch of stadiums. They could do, you don't have like the tap thing? Like, what year is this? And that's because everyone kept telling me, oh, dude, Atlanta Stadium's awesome. It's like the most high-tech thing. Like, you're going to love it. SEC championships. Bro, it's great there. And honestly, I was kind of disappointed because I had been getting hyped up about this experience for so long that when I got there, ticket scanner didn't work. So it took me like 5 minutes to figure out where the actual ticket was in the FIFA app and have them just scan like the barcode. Because they couldn't scan the barcode, QR code thing from the actual Google Wallet. And I thought, why? And then, get this, dude. We had to go through 2 security checkpoints. Not just 1. 2. I had to scan my ticket twice. And then when I sent my son through, they had like the bar. And the lady starts yelling at him that he didn't push the bar hard enough. And that his ticket might have disappeared. And I said, there's no way his ticket disappeared or I'm going to just lose it. I said, we're going into the game no matter what.
That's the one thing I've had, for the most part, a pretty positive experience with having like tickets and stuff like that saved to my phone. But I always just am paranoid about not being able to pull them up, but I always end up like screenshotting them and saving them to my photos as well. Just as a double backup because I'm worried like internet's going to go out or something ridiculous is going to come where like I can't pull my tickets up. It's like if they can't pull it up on their side, then you're royally screwed.
Well, so we went through the first checkpoint perfectly fine. I didn't end up taking a bag. I almost took a bag in with water, but then they were like, oh, you got to be careful with the bags. They might just confiscate them. And I thought, I told him we're just going to eat. I'll get him concessions at the stadium and I'll just get a drink there. Not a big deal. Atlanta made a big deal about having like affordable concessions, which is offset by the horrible parking prices, dude. Like, luckily I had parked at the hotel and had everything down. Walking by and seeing the parking lots, minimum $90 parking for the game. I don't know what FIFA charge. I didn't look at that ahead of time because I knew I was going to just get a hotel and stay there and walk to the game, because at least Atlanta had a lot of walkable places from the hotel. But anyone driving in, because I almost drove in. My original idea was maybe we won't make it, like, if we can barely get in, because I didn't know what the schedule was going to be. I originally almost bought a Thursday or weekday ticket, thinking I could drive in, park, go to the game, and then drive back out. I probably could have, depending on what time the game was, if it was like at 3, I probably could have made it all the way home. Right? It's not really not that far of a drive, but I'm glad I didn't, because parking lots were full, minimum $90. Some of them were like $120 for the game. I thought, oh my God, that's insanity. So don't tell me that you're making the game more affordable for fans by charging them a $3 soda or whatever it is, whenever your parking is $90. Like, I've never seen parking that high ever. And we went to like a Braves game together. Like, I've never seen anyone say, like, you know what, you $90 parking. So that was another negative, just walking by and seeing just frustrated people. Yeah, I get it. So the double security thing, also annoying, because like they scan a ticket, we go through the checkpoint. All right, awesome. We go through the next one. The guy does like the scanning thing, and then walk through, and they're beeping people because their bags or whatever. And then they're like, you have to use your ticket, and then you have to use the push bar. Well, they said it didn't click when my son did it, and they were like, yeah, we might have to it might not count his ticket anymore. He might have lost his ticket. I was like, lady, you're going to need to get your manager right here, because there's no way he lost his ticket when they already scanned it twice. And you're not even going to stop me. I'm just going to walk into the stadium, and you don't have the ticket on your scanner. You would have no idea where I went. Right? I know it came up as a good scan just because he didn't push the bar or didn't click when he pushed. Like, it had no idea. So I walked through, we scanned it. I said, you know what? I said, just go. Where's going? If they want to call security, they can grab us, whatever. I'm like, I told her, like, it scanned, the ticket on your thing scanned twice. Like, you got it. One of the top 2 worst check-ins I've ever had. The other one was at a UNC basketball game where they were literally making women buy clear book bags to throw their giant purses in. They're like, you can't bring that purse in too big unless you buy this UNC bag for like $30. And I thought, this is a big scam, because nothing else changed. They were just taking a giant, like, your purse and putting it in another big bag for you that was clear. I thought, this has to be a joke. And they were like, no, we have a vendor set up right there selling it. I said, yeah, that's like the biggest money grab I've ever seen. Because you have like the size on your thing, like you can bring this much in. But like, of course, you're close because they hold the bag up against like that little square on the sign. You've probably seen it. If you're going to a concert or a game, you know what I'm talking about. And women, I saw that like were just over the line, and they're like, yep, sorry, you got to go buy a clear bag. They throw the person the clear bag, and they're like, you're good to go. It didn't actually go off in the scanner. We just stopped you because we were like jerks. I thought, okay, awesome. So now, because we had taken a bus in, and I thought, what am I supposed to do? Like with your purse, you can't put it on the bus. You have to go all the way back to the car. You're going to miss half the game. And this other one was close, like threatening that they weren't going to count the ticket. I was like, get out of here. Because that would have been an easy, probably lawsuit. Like, oh no, they scanned twice. Right? But then again, then what? You missed a game? And that's your experience? Like, oh no, they kicked us out. We had to like settle a complaint with like the card company. We got our money back. Yeah, but was it worth it? No, we completely missed a game. Because like I would have been so mad. And I know it probably wasn't the stadium's fault. It's probably just that worker's fault. So whatever, we get in there, dude. And everyone talked about how FIFA had it streamlined. That was a lie. It was the most corporate, we just need to sell you stuff environment that I might have ever been in. where they had 4 different merch booths set up, but they didn't have enough merch. So everyone was just lined up outside these lines. And by the time the lines like went down, and we were there 2 hours early. So like, I don't want people to listen and think like, well, this guy probably showed up 5 minutes before. Like, no, we didn't go when it completely opened because we were outside checking out FanFest and some of the other vendors and stuff or whatever. But inside the stadium, I thought, man, I've been early for games. I've been able to walk around comfortably. I've been at stadiums like Beaver Stadium and the Big House, over 100,000 people. This place was way more sardine packed than any of those other stadiums, which was surprising to me because that's kind of like my barometer when people are like, wow, man, there's going to be so many people there. It's going to be packed. And I'm like, yeah, I've been to the Big House, bro. Under the lights. I've been at Beaver Stadium for an Ohio State game in the middle of the night, like a nighttime game day game. I've seen huge crowds. Like I thought the World Cup, like I knew there was no way the World Cup was going to keep up with that. And it didn't, of course. Like I still think those college atmospheres are way better. Maybe if it was like a knockout. I mean, it basically was a knockout game. Congo had to win. And Uzbekistan, if they won, they had a chance. So the game was very heated and the fans are really into it. It was just that the stadium, you could tell like this is a smaller professional stadium. I would have liked to see more of a college atmosphere. I think soccer would do better, like World Cup. Because I saw a couple games, like people were doing like the warm-up games, like I think there was one at like Auburn Stadium. And I know like Michigan had some friendlies before at some of those bigger stadiums, but the corporate aspect of like a major stadium like this that was set up for neutral site games and other corporate events, you could very easily tell that that's what it was going to be like. So I don't know if those other people coming from other countries, if they were like, this might have been the best stadium in their lives. I have no idea. Might also have been the worst. Who knows? But it was very lukewarm for me. It wasn't the worst experience I ever had. It wasn't the best. I mean, it was fun, but like the concessions and stuff, I had never been there. The one thing that annoyed me was that every concession stand had like the same color sign and the same like setup, but everyone had different things. Right. So like one booth had like pizza and drinks and something else and fries. But if you wanted like cheese, like you couldn't get cheese fries. You'd have to go to the other booth and get like a pretzel and cheese, or maybe buy a cheese cup there and then go back. And at that point I'm like, dude, I'm not hopping 3 concession stands to get what I want. Right. Like they didn't have like a general concessions, which was odd to me. I get it if you had specialty ones, like, okay, Chick-fil-A's here. Awesome, go to the Chick-fil-A one. Because we kind of have that at the Hurricane Stadium. But they still have a general concessions that kind of has everything there. And I walked around the entire stadium, at least the lower level. I don't know if the higher level had it. We only went to the lower level, right? Because that's where our seats were. And so they didn't have a general concessions there, which I thought was odd. They did have the helmet set up for all the high school football, just like NC State has at their stadium, which I thought I expected that. That's a good touch for like in-state fans coming for like a Falcons game or whatever. You can see like your team helmet. So I like when stadiums do things like that. Seats were nice. I don't have any complaints there. And the view was great. They had real grass, which I think a lot of NFL players and the NFLPA was kind of pointing out, where they were saying like, how can FIFA come in for like a 2-month tournament and they can do real grass, but NFL can't figure it out? Because like, if you were picking, dude, and you're coaching, what would you prefer, grass or turf?
I'm probably the wrong person to pull for that, because I look overall and I feel like with how realistic the turf is anymore, it's not like the old school patio, like concrete turf. Like they have some of the playing surfaces now that are really nice. If I had input, I would want it to be the turf, just because I look at it more from the standpoint of I'm looking across the program. So when you have your flag, your minors, your majors, your junior high, your JV, your varsity, and you're playing 6 different football teams, not to mention if you're a bigger school that offers soccer. The thing that used to drive me crazy when I coached in North Carolina is the goalie would just be bored and would just dig up the middle of the football field. So like the whole area around the like where the goalie was at, just because they're just standing down there, just kicking the grass up, just creating giant divots for people to roll their ankle in. Like you're not doing that on turf.
Well, see, I understand that from a high school perspective. These dudes had rakes that came out. They had a crew of guys with rakes that were putting the divots back in place, man. And they watered it in between. I don't know if I sent you that picture, but they had the sprinklers going before the game so that like it wasn't getting like torn up. And
I think if you have a dedicated grounds crew that is highly educated and highly skilled and knows what the hell they're doing, but for the most part, the one coach I worked for, he used to just handle all of the field maintenance himself because he was like, if anyone else does it, it's going to look like crap. And I mean, he was meticulous on a level that like knew the different styles of grass seed and like watering schedules. And like, he was really, really thorough and in depth with it. And at the time I was a lot younger and I thought he's kind of crazy for doing that. But looking now and seeing the shape of some of the fields that we play at, it's like, I totally understand why people go to turf, because when you have guys that maintaining the field isn't a priority, it definitely looks like crap by the end of the year, and you end up with the risk of more injury. Like, I think if you can maintain a grass field and keep it where you're not dealing with the divots, that may be the better surface overall. But my personal experience to it is that I haven't played enough on a well-maintained field to really see much of a difference.
Well, that's why even Heinz Field, whatever they call it now, I know I keep saying Heinz Field, but that's like stuck in my mind because that's what I always called it. And I have my Heinz Field.
Just because you don't want to call it Active Fire.
Well, I have my Heinz Field inaugural game coin that I got for going to the first Steelers game there, bro. So it's always going to be that to me. And so when they had Pitt play there, it was at the end of the year, it was tough to have the grass because like you get the colder weather in Pittsburgh. You have multiple teams tearing it up. It has to be harder. FIFA was like growing in the grass and then bringing it in, which the NFL could probably do. Expensive.
You bring up a really good point with the Steelers maintaining that. Like, they clearly have the money to afford it. And between Pitt, the Steelers, and then the Whippeal teams that were playing on it during the high school playoffs, that stadium is always like a questionable playing surface late in the year because you get all the extra precipitation. It's like, if the professionals can't maintain that field and keep it in decent shape, like, what are some of these like other colleges and high school teams doing?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, they're letting other people play on it, and so there's nothing they can really do. Where in high school, you kind of have control where you might only have 9 games a year. But again, if you're doing soccer and stuff on it and you have a shared, it's probably not worth it either. You pay for that once, and then it lasts 20 years, or I don't even know how long they last, but you're good. Where the NFL, on the other hand, my main point that I see a lot of FIFA fans talking about is like, you're putting your best athletes out there. These are like the most explosive guys. You don't want to risk any turf, no matter how good the advancements are, any turf injury for your stars. You're paying them hundreds of millions of dollars. You're not going to have a grounds crew come in. It doesn't cost that much to grow your grass in like a greenhouse nearby, roll it up, and then put it in. Because they probably have they could ship it in. I think that's what FIFA was doing. They have like they bought like whatever their greenhouse is. So the NFL could probably buy some rural land nearby, put a greenhouse in, grow their turf, roll it up. I don't know how long it lives like that, but then bring it in. Like if FIFA can do it for 2 months, NFL could do it. Now, the one thing that they did say that they didn't open the Atlanta stadium. I was kind of wondering if they were going to do that. And they kept it warm. It was warmer than I expected, but they said that they had the temperature and the stadium inside and even the time of the games. So like the Atlanta ones were like kind of like later, because that was when the ideal temperature or humidity point, that's the ideal point of those, was to keep the grass ready. So like they had all the research ready to go. So you can't tell me that the NFL can't do the same thing. Now with the NFL doing like weird Wednesday games and stuff, maybe not the same point. I don't know. But now we're in the knockout stage. Paraguay, since we're recording a little bit early, knocked out Germany today in penalty kicks. It made me laugh so hard. Because they had them up. Japan was up on Brazil, and then they lost at like the last minute. And I do like right now where even if you're not a soccer fan, you're at work, you can listen to like the game. And soccer is not bad to listen to if you can't watch it. Right? Because you really don't need to know what's going on. Like there's a lot of passing around. And as long as the announcer guy's hyped, then you can be hyped.
Yeah, especially if you just listen to the Spanish version. And then you just hear when they score a goal, and you know something good happened.
Yeah, or their voices perk up and you're like ready to go. Because they did have the Telemundo guy on the field, and then there were like fans yelling at him. Like, oh yeah, get out of here, Telemundo guy. Where's the regular English? I'm like, this is what we're yelling at the game? At the World Cup here? Like Atlanta fans, you guys, the Atlanta fans that were there made it a point to say like, we're not soccer fans, but we live nearby, and they all had like Braves gear on. I thought, bro, get the Braves gear off. You're making the Braves fans look like losers here. I thought there was at one point. I thought there was going to be a fight.
There's nothing else better to do right now, so we're coming to this event.
Well, the one dude threw popcorn. I thought there was going to be a fight because I thought, who buys a huge thing of popcorn, gets drunk, and then throws it all up in the air, like on people, and then everyone starts yelling. And I'm like, great, this will be on TV in the middle of like watching all these dudes fight. I'm just standing there. Like, I'm not getting involved in this, right? I'm an adult man. I don't need to be fighting with like drunk guys at a World Cup game. Because you always see those viral videos of like random people fighting in the stands. I thought, this is it. Have a bunch of like drunk people from Atlanta show up, talk about how they don't like soccer and all this stuff. And I was like, well, what is the point of coming to the game then? Like, I get it. Tickets were kind of cheap, and it's like a bucket list thing. That's kind of why I wanted to go. Check it off. Went to the World Cup. It was pretty good. I've been to better like events. Because I was telling the people I went with, like, honestly, like, you have Michigan under the lights. I saw that. I saw the Ohio State Penn State game. I saw Michigan beat Penn State under the lights. I saw them beat Notre Dame. Those under the light college games, and this was a nighttime and a World Cup game too, which almost had that same effect. Maybe it's like the open air. Maybe it was kind of stale in there, like the environment. They did put up the decibel counter for the loudness, like as the game was going on. And the other one team had the drums. I think Uzbekistan had like a drum line, which was beating, which I thought was cool. But the loudest it got was like right around 100 dB. For comparison, Kane's watch party, not even there, bro. Game's not even at the stadium. Over 120 dB consistently throughout the game. Like I said, my ears were ringing after the watch party. Not so much at Atlanta Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So anyone that's like, wow, these NFL stadiums are just loud. It's like, no, not true, bro. Not true. And I know that's probably biased a little bit. And I know NHL consistently says that the Carolina Stadium is one of the loudest because of how it's built with like cement everywhere, that it holds the sound. Like, I get it. It's not as big, not as spread out. But I've been to stadiums that are rocking. And that World Cup one, even though the fans were into it, it didn't have the same push for me. Now, would I not go back to a soccer game? No, I probably would go again. Like I said, I would like to go maybe to one of the ones in another country, go see America, play over there. The one thing that was weird is each team had a mascot. I don't know if you knew that at the World Cup now, which I didn't know we did. I'm guessing we're the Eagles because our mascot is an eagle.
Makes sense.
Because like Congo came out and they were the Jaguars, I think. Unless they were leopards. I don't remember what it said. But then the other team, they were the white wolves. And then I thought like they don't have any marking of like their mascot on their jerseys though. So I thought, did they make this up? Right? Is it just to sell stuffies like at the game where the kid's like, hey, I can get my American Eagle stuffy? Because Canada's mascot was there. It was a moose. And then Mexico had like the same mascot as the Congo. It was also a leopard or a jaguar or something like that. And so that was confusing to me because I thought like, kind of the same, right? I don't know. I mean, there's so many countries, there can't be that many mascots. How many Tigers do we have in the NFL? Or even in college, I mean. Like, yeah, we have a lot. So I get it. They can't come up with unique things. But I would think that FIFA would say, like, hey, we need to sell these stuffies, so let's come up with something cool. Get some good animals in here. But they made it a point during the intros to be like the white wolves. And then I thought they would have like a wolf howling or something like NC State does. No, they just mentioned it. That was the mascot while the three host mascots were out on the field, like waving. That was odd. Definitely had a place for me. And I was like, did anyone know we had a mascot? Are we the American Eagles or USA Eagles? I have no idea. I was going to look it up to see. I'm going to look it up right now. Cup. Because it does say we're a Clutch the Bald Eagle. He's designed as a midfielder. Don't know what that means, right? In terms of size, because all the players are kind of the same size, right? And the NFL would be like different, like, oh, he's a lineman. Like, oh, okay, got it. Like that's different than like a wide receiver. But Maple the Moose for Canada and Zayu the Jaguar for Mexico. I don't know. Does every team have one? If I look it up, it looks like we used to have a dog. I have no idea. It's so weird, right? Just go the Michigan way and just don't have a mascot. Much better. I should buy you an Eagle mascot shirt. They did have them at the game, and they had the stuffies, like I said.
4th of July is coming up.
I know. 250. If they had a 250 anniversary, you could get that. I'm sorry. When I went by the merch booth, it was kind of picked over, so I could have only gotten you like a towel or something. But even the towel, did I talk about that already? So they had a promo for FanFest where like you buy 2 Cokes, you scan this thing, and then you're supposed to go pick up your towel or like a headband or something it was. And they were like, all right, here's a location that still has them, California. And I'm like, yeah, I'll be right there. I'm going to go to California to pick up my headband for the game.
Where's your dedication?
Well, people were still in line, and I thought, are they handing out Cokes? And then you go by and see like what the Coke experience is, and then you see like they still have the prices up. And I thought people surely aren't getting free Cokes if they have a price up. And the line was so long, I'm not going to wait 2 hours to kind of see. I think a lot of people were getting hyped because Bank of America maybe was handing out like one of those charm bracelets that was built for the World Cup, which I thought that's kind of a cool thing. But then, you know, scalpers were getting them and putting them on eBay for like $50. So the FanFest ticket's free for people that don't know. So like if you were a grifter, you could go to the FanFest. I don't know how they were doing it. Like, were they taking emails or how you would get these bracelets? But I saw people like immediately were like 75 bracelets available. eBay it up. Send me an offer. I thought, how's one guy get 75 bracelets, man? He show up like in the morning? And why go through all that trouble? Bank of America should just sell them for like 10 or 20, whatever they cost. They obviously couldn't have been that much if they had that many. And then donated the proceeds to somewhere. Like World Soccer Fund or something. I'm sure that's a thing. Right? They have to have something like that. But that's my last thing. I would recommend it for the experience. I think a lot of the outside the stadium stuff was better. But again, it goes into how do you want to hang out? It was pretty hot. So like if you have young kids or you don't want to be hanging out with a bunch of people in like the heat, that's something you have to be prepared for. Unless maybe like you went to like the 10 o'clock game. Because I think that some sites had like a later game, which I did think was funny because FIFA was like, here's the game time. And then here's when the game starts in the native country and it's like 4:30 in the morning. Like, could you imagine? Oh, hey, the only sport my country cares about, I'm going to wake up at 4:30 in the morning and watch us play around the world. And they could easily have put the game on earlier. Like it was a 10 p.m. start in the United States. I forget what game it was. And then the host or the team that's playing, it's on 4:30 in their country. If they would have went ahead and put it like at noon in America, it would have been a reasonable time for them. You're playing indoors anyway. You can't tell me it's for humidity. They have AC in the stadium. I guarantee they do. Because otherwise people wouldn't go. That's my final thing. That's all I really have for this week too. There are some other random things that happen. Ayuk, I saw, keeps getting compared to AB because he's like doing his burnout phase where he's saying like, cut me, I'll sign with Washington. Please cut me. I don't know if they ended up doing anything because like I said, I was traveling at the World Cup. I saw the Lions cut Terry and Arnold because he had like some scheme going where he's like kidnapping someone or something. I don't know all the details, but I thought if something doesn't come of that, like you can't convince me the Browns will not sign him immediately. Right? Remember like the Pac-Man Jones incidents and the Bengals were like, we're in. Like there's going to be a team that will take a chance on him once they get all the details out there. But is there anything I missed that you want to talk about?
No.
Oh, I did go to the College Football Hall of Fame, dude. And I will let you know, I went on a whim. I got there. I realized it was right by the stadium and where we were staying. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go check it out. I had no expectations. I knew it was right by the stadium where they have the SEC championship. I was honestly surprised that a lot of the booths were not SEC related. Like when I went through, a lot of like your traditional powers like Michigan, Ohio State, Notre Dame were heavily featured, of course. And then going around the booths, some teams, man, weren't mentioned at all, which I felt were odd. Yeah, they have all the helmets when you walk in. I'm not kidding you. I tried to find an NC State helmet. I didn't see one. And I was like actively looking and like I didn't go by row. I didn't want to spend my time like I got to find an NC State helmet. But as I was going through, like you can go through, they have like an interactive panel when you get there. They tell you to start at the top and you can filter by your school and then see how many guys your school has in the Hall of Fame or whatever, like records they have, like coaches. I don't know if everyone on the list was in the Hall of Fame or not, because I'm assuming some schools probably don't really have that many people. And for a lot of the schools, that was like the extent of their involvement. Then you had a row of people that were just put in, right? And they had a feature for like Indiana with Mendoza winning the Heisman and winning the national championship. So they had like a little bit of like an Indiana section, which I thought, okay, that was cool, but it wasn't big enough where like if your team wins the national championship, where I would tell you, hey, you definitely need to go check it out. Where like I didn't feel like, oh, I didn't go in Michigan one, like, oh, the great national championship display was awesome. Like, no, it's just like a one little glass container display case, I guess. I don't even know how to describe it. That's like a square that just had like Indiana stuff and Mendoza's jersey and some other things that said like national champions. They also had, I think they had one for each level, but I really don't know if they had anything like the D3 one was just a cup or like a bowl. It almost reminded me of something you would see at church that they would have the hosts in for like communion. And I thought, that's the trophy? Bro, I could go out and buy you a better trophy than like the D3 trophy. So I was kind of embarrassed that was there. And then they had the Heisman room, which again, if your school didn't have a Heisman, okay, you're running out of chances to be featured here. All right. So you go around the second row. They had a video game section where like Xbox had it set up where people could play the new NCAA football game. I don't know what would have been there before that game came back. No idea. And then you go back and they had like an HBCU. Hopefully I said that acronym right. Section where they went through like the historical black colleges and their things. They had a media section where like you can go into a room and hear like different calls, I think, from like TV. And then they had an armed forces section, which was like featured like Navy, Air Force, all them, Army. They had a history section, which went through and again featured like a lot of like Notre Dame, old Michigan. Like they had like the old Michigan helmet that was like the painted leather one without the face mask where you could see the stripes on it. And then coaches section, they wiped Joe Paterno from that completely, which I have no idea how they can like put some random other coaches up there. And it basically had all your other guys like Bobby Bowden, it had Bo, and it had Woody. It had, I don't even know, like a bunch of the other like big name coaches that you would expect. I don't even know if they had Saban there, to be honest, though. It was basically like the older Hall of Fame. Because is Saban, did he retire long enough ago to even be in the Hall of Fame yet? Probably not. I know Urban Meyer had his own like little thing at the front because he was a new inductee. I sent you a picture. Because like even the Tebow helmet I sent you, that was in the Heisman section. It made me laugh because Desmond Howard had like more displays for his jersey and stuff that he donated than most schools. Because like he had like 3 things there, I think. He had 2 jerseys and something else. And I thought, man, Des really putting in work here. It might have been in the game day section. He had something. I can't remember because like that was part of like the media section where they had a little badge that you scanned. So you would go through and it would do like an AI version of you. So like you could pretend to be on game day. You could pretend to be a coach. They had like a little interactive thing where I thought they were going to have you run the 40. Because when I went to the Little League World Series, they had like a little tryout, like almost like a little combine setup. This was years ago. I don't know if they still have it. But they would time how hard you could throw. They would time how fast you could run. They would like, I don't know what else it would be, like jumping. They did have a jumping thing, but it wasn't like an actual vertical jump. You just jumped on a mat and it measured, like it had a camera that measured how high your feet came off the ground, which isn't a true vertical. When I thought, man, they have all of those bowling things that reset the pins. You can't tell me that they can't have one of those like jumpy things where it will tell you like, hey, take your hand and push it up to the top of your head and then jump up and like see how high you can get so that kids could reach it too. And then it just like swivels back into place with today's technology. I'm guessing the computer one's a lot easier to maintain. Wipe the camera lens clean. But same with like the 40-yard dash. It was a fake 40-yard dash where you just had to like shuffle your feet, you know, like not high knees, but like the one where you're like doing the machine guns. Yeah. And then it would count your feet to see how fast you'd run 40, which of course then people were cheating and like running the 40 in 1 second because they had like 4 people jumping on it with them. I'm like, okay, awesome guys. Great work. Great work. But I ran into some Penn State fans that were like really annoyed that like Penn State had nothing. Because I didn't do like a pure count of things. Like some schools like Auburn had like a section for like showing you how high, like the player height. I don't know if it was comparing you to Bo Jackson or someone. And then some schools like Maryland had it featured because like their alum founded Under Armour. So they were in the jersey section. But like I don't think Maryland had anything else other than that. And like Penn State had nothing. Pitt had two things. I think they had Larry Fitzgerald's jersey. I was going to take a picture. I forgot. And then they also had, as part of like the old homecoming cheerleader section, they had like one of the old big Pitt signs that you could go like through. Or you couldn't like touch it or anything. It was in like one of the booths, but like they had like an old like tailgate section set up, and Pitt was like featured there. And again, like, I'm not joking. Every time there was something like cheerleading, they had like a Michigan and Ohio State rep pretty much everywhere. So like if you're a Big Ten fan of one of the other schools, you'd probably be like, all right, this is kind of annoying. USC had a lot of stuff. Wasn't as much as the big three, Michigan, Ohio State, Notre Dame. But USC was featured pretty good. Florida State wasn't featured as much, but they were definitely featured as much as the other ones in the merch store, which made me laugh because if you look at the wall, it's like, okay, you know who's buying merch, because it was like Florida State, Michigan, Ohio State, Notre Dame, and it was everywhere, like the same couple of teams. And I was surprised that there wasn't really a lot of SEC schools, because even my son was like, hey, Dad, this like one random thing over here has the Bulldogs on it. I forgot. Were there even any Bulldog players here? And I was like, well, Herschel Walker had to be in here, right? He won the Heisman. But yeah, we are in the middle of Georgia. You would think that they would have had more Bulldogs. I think they had a picture of him outside the store though, or outside the museum, but not like really a lot of stuff inside. And they really didn't have their own section. Honestly, I think that the Atlanta Braves had more merch, because they had an Atlanta Braves section in the merch store, and they also had a World Cup section that I think was probably temporary. But it made me laugh because like you had every other like SEC team had like a small little section, and like same with the other schools, but I really did not see even that much Penn State merch. I didn't see like really any NC State stuff at all. So like if you're a fan of one of the smaller schools, skip. It's not worth it to go through and do like the 2 computer sims. They did have a field for you to run out on. They had the signs up there where like you could jump up and touch the Michigan banner or the Notre Dame sign. And there was something else. I didn't even recognize the other one. So I only know those two that like the people come out and touch, right? They didn't have like the Rock from Clemson or anything, which I thought would have been cool as like an alternative. And maybe they did and I just missed it. I don't know. But I didn't see it. They did have a lot of Clemson stuff compared to the ACC. Really, it was only Florida State and Clemson, I think. I didn't really even see that much Miami stuff. So in terms of like a history of football, yeah, I get like they have a lot of the older schools, but with everything now, you can't tell me that you can't have like a little piece of every school. There was a lot of dead space in there with like lobbies and things where you couldn't tell me that you couldn't find a way to like have a wall set up and say like ACC traditions, and have, even if it's just like a little card that would say like, have people doing like the Wolfpack hand sign, or like show Clemson guys touching the Rock, and like a little card about it, because
they didn't want to do it because there's so much changing within the conferences that they're like, people are still moving around. We don't want to set this up. Then we'll have to redo it.
Well, even I know they were trying to do like all levels. And so like, bro, you go to D3. If you don't win the national championship, there's no way you're even included in there. Right. Like, so you can't tell me though that they couldn't take any of the dead space, and like some of the walls had like fake, like playbook, like X's and O's drawn on them. You couldn't just have like little cubbies. It didn't even have to be conference based, dude. It could have been regional, which I think would be better. Like, oh, here's a Midwest wall where it's like talking about all the rivalries in the Midwest. And they did have the trophies, which again, Michigan has like the jug and stuff. So you have like a rivalry section, but it's all like the VR based, or I guess AI. I don't know what you call it. You scan your card, and whatever team you picked at the beginning in your rival, it would kind of let you pick other rivals of your school. And so if you're from one of those smaller schools, you're going to spend most of your time on basically a touch screen reading web pages, I guess. Something you could have just did at your home, like type in, hey, did my school win a national championship, or did my school have a rival or win a Heisman? Because that's basically what you were looking at. I don't know. As a Michigan fan, yeah, we had a lot of stuff. Nice. Anyone else? I'm like, don't go. Pitt fan, yeah, maybe if you want to see like Larry Fitzgerald stuff or whatever, maybe if you win like the ACC or you're going in there or you get some guys inducted in. Like if your favorite player got inducted, like I said, they each had their own locker for all the new ones, but those roll over every year. So like anyone that was put in last year, they didn't have anything from. So I don't know. Like I've been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I haven't really been to any of the other sports Hall of Fames to compare it to anything. So I really don't know. But in terms of like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was so far ahead of what the College Football Hall of Fame was. And I didn't know what to expect going in. Worth the trip for me. Like I said, again, though, on the caveat that I'm a Michigan fan, we have a lot of stuff there. If I honestly, like if I went with you, I think you would have been probably disappointed. They had like the Jameis headshot. And I don't really know what other else Florida State stuff they really had. Bobby Bowden on the coach's wall. That might have been the only two things I saw. Penn State, man, the Penn State fan I ran into there, he was angry. Right? You have like nothing. They won 2 national championships, man. I have nothing to say about it. Like I have nothing else to say.
It reiterates a previous point that we made that it's not, a lot of these Hall of Fames are just glorified for the media writers and the journalists. It's not actually a representation of who is on their merit getting in. It's just who are their friends and that they want to give the publicity to, because they're real quick to virtue signal a lot of the popular items of who gets in, who gets out, and there's always some controversy. For as much as we've talked about baseball, where they're picking and choosing who gets in, because of the integrity of the game. You got people that are blatantly cheating, and they're like, "Oh no, that's fine." Like, come on, you can't do it both ways.
And that's where I'm like, man, you go through, and it's clearly set up for like the older fan, right? I want to say it wasn't really set up for our age group. It was probably set up more for maybe the guy that grew up during like the 80s watching Notre Dame and like watching Rudy. Because it felt like that's where everything was kind of geared towards, other than maybe like the video game section. And the interactive thing at the end was you threw a football into like one of those catch baskets, which, being such a big...
Was it from the Dr. Pepper thing so you could see if you could...
No, which would have been better. It was just like the catch basket. Like being a big fan of Tom Brady, I made it first try, bro. It was like right in there. And then they had a kicking thing, and you had to kick a field goal from like pretty close. And it was set up for right-handers, and I thought, I'm not switching it. I'll just see if I can make it. Which I had a thing, I missed it wide left. I thought, man, I had enough leg on that. I could have kicked it. Right? And then for the kids, they had one where you would run a route and they would throw you a pass and you would try to make a diving catch onto like a mat, which I thought was like more fun for them. But it's almost like an afterthought as you're leaving to walk into the souvenir store. You throw a ball, you kick one, and then you run and do your diving catch, and then you're out of there. And then you're like, man, I could buy a Charles Woodson jersey here. Like, oh, and another Desmond Howard section? Awesome. What am I doing here? It's like, how many other people are not even in there, right? How many Desmond Howard jerseys do you need at the stadium? Because the other thing for him was his Heisman pose, and it said about how he wanted to do a backflip. But it was funny. They did have like a workout section, dude, or something. I forget what it was, but they had like Powerades. It was part of like the merchandise or the outfits or whatever, the apparel section. And they had like this card of like workouts and what people did. And they had one about JJ meditating. and like how Michigan went on to win the national championship. I was thinking, bro, of all the schools that need another random mention as part of this like Hall of Fame, you don't need a card about JJ McCarthy. No offense. I know he won the national championship. You don't need a card about him meditating. You could highlight another school, right? Share the love a little bit, right? You don't need, I just read a thing about Desmond Howard doing the Heisman pose. And I come over here, I read about like Tim Tebow doing like his Bible thing or whatever. And I'm trying to think of who else they had in there. Larry Fitzgerald's one, but I can't remember if we might have just been going through because there were so many people at some of them. Probably doing the same thing we were doing, going to the World Cup and then going over. But yeah, then I turn the corner and it's like the most random card, a JJ McCarthy one. It made me laugh. Because it had to be like someone printed that out new. They were like, you know what we need here? We need a JJ McCarthy. He's meditating. Put that in here. Hall of Fame worthy. Bo Jackson, like nothing about the legend of Bo Jackson other than his picture in the Heisman house. But yeah, we need a JJ McCarthy meditating. Like they have a video game section, bro. Where's Tecmo Super Bowl? I mean, that's not college related, but come on, Bo Jackson was the man in that. That's what I want to see more of. But I guess I have one more thing before we wrap up. Michigan's coach, Dusty May, basketball, went to the Dallas Mavs, which I don't even know if we talked about. Last time he was rumored to go to the Magic, and I thought, if he goes, they just won the national championship. Every time we win a national championship now, our coach leaves for whatever reason. He goes to the pros. He's like, I'm the guy. But with Dusty, I feel like he could be Nick Saban, where Michigan was his LSU stop, right? He's going to go to the pros. He's going to realize that coaches in the pros and people NBA fans can come after me. Coaches in the pros really don't do anything, right? They don't make an impact as much as having a star player on your team. Do you agree?
Yeah, I would say that.
So in the meantime, Dusty's going to Dallas. And the Warriors right now are working on possibly a mega deal. They signed Porzingis, I think, and they're trying to work out to get LeBron and AD back over there. And they brought in Yaxel. I don't know if he's going to be a piece or if even Porzingis is going to be a piece. They let Draymond Green go, but they're trying to make a super team after Oklahoma City's already has a super team. It's going to be like Harbaugh going into the AFC. I don't think Dusty's going to win an NBA Finals. I'm wondering if he's going to get cut because he'll be a scapegoat, just like Kidd. They're like, oh, we got to fire our coach. It wasn't because we traded Doncic away, right? Luka, after he took us to the finals against the Celtics like 2 years ago and we gutted our team. Like, nah, let's blame it on the coach, right? Because that's what the NBA does. I have a horrible bad feeling that Dusty May is going to go back to Indiana where he started his career. I don't know if he was played there or what, but he was an Indiana guy. I think he coached maybe under Bob Knight. I don't know how old he is, but I have a horrible feeling that he's going to go back to Indiana, and the way Indiana is spending on football, if they can get a flamed out NBA coach, Dusty May, that won a national championship in Michigan, they're going to give him all the NIL he wants. And then I'm going to have to watch Indiana go back to being like a random basketball superpower when they've kind of become the Nebraska of basketball, where people are like, hey, they used to be good. Back in my dad's time, Nebraska football was awesome. And it's like, oh, yeah? Okay. That's kind of Indiana basketball. I think I saw a thing where they've only had like one Sweet 16 or something like in like a very long time. And I thought, oh my gosh, these guys, and they keep putting on a blue blood. Meanwhile, Michigan has like 3 Final Fours like recently. And I have a bad feeling that Dusty May leaving is going to be like Saban going to the NFL. And instead of staying at LSU winning championships, he comes back, goes to an in-conference rival, and wins like 4 championships or something. And everyone's like, man, he's the greatest coach. Even though he's stuck in like the NBA. Because I don't think he's going to win in the NBA. Dallas doesn't have the roster. Because even the Knicks, you can't give that championship to the coach. Bro, that was Brunson. And Towns shutting down Wemby. I don't know. But I honestly don't feel anything anymore. I don't care. Coaches can go with NIL. It really doesn't matter. Right? People can say that I'm like being bitter. I don't think it matters. Michigan lost hardball. Did pretty well with Sharon. He wasn't even trying to coach, bro. He's on his phone on OnlyFans in the middle of the game. Right? So if you have your roster, like if your GM puts together a good, in today's market, if you can have a GM that puts together a great roster, whether it's basketball or football, you could have a great team. Coaching is going to be there. Some sports, basketball, I saw people say like, well, Michigan's roster was like top 5, maybe top 1 if they would have brought in that one guy that Dusty was talking to. I can't remember his name, but he was talking about another European guy coming in this year, would have had Michigan the preseason number 1, and he's like, I don't want to deal with NIL anymore. Because I don't know if you saw the story, but the last thing I'll say is the story was he had a guy locked up, and I think I know who the player was. I think if you look it up, you could probably find the player. Because he was rumored to go to Michigan heavily, and it would have put Michigan as like the number 1 roster into next year. And apparently he told Dusty that I'm locked into Michigan. And his agent called and was like, we're not locked in. And so then he's like, okay. So he called the player back like 2 weeks later, and he said, no, I told my whole family, like, I am coming. And the agent called and was like, we're taking offers still. I don't know why he keeps telling you he's signing. We did not sign. And like, then he ended up signing with someone else. And that was the Dusty, like, told one of the guys at CBS, like, that was it. I thought I might only last like one more year doing this. And he had all intents of coaching at Michigan this next year. But then he said that like Dallas was his bucket list, one of the teams that he would go to. And he thought he could be successful there. My theory is, and this is where my Indiana thing comes, I know Cuban doesn't own Dallas anymore, but he still has his fingers in the pot there. Cuban lures Dusty there. He's like their big football NIL guy now because he has nothing to do, not owning an NBA team. He thinks, Mavs can win. I'm still a Mavs fan, like I owned him for years. Or if he flames out, I'll hire him in Indiana. It's a win-win for Mark Cuban. That's my tinfoil hat coming on. Indiana guy getting his fingers in the Dallas Mavs, stealing the best coach in the Big Ten in hopes that he flames out and comes back to Indiana. And then he could have the 2 best coaches in sports, dude, Cignetti and Dusty May. Get out of here. That'd be crazy. My only worry now is that Michigan's not going to hire a coach and do like a Sharon where you just promote from within, and then when it blows up, we're like, what? That didn't work? Guess we got to go get some other Hall of Fame coach, bring him in. And then Michigan will just be like, we're going to get a great coach no matter what. But it's going to be weird. Like we're going to waste 2 or 3 years before we decide like, you know what, we should hire a real coach. Right? And maybe it won't work out. Maybe we won't get a good coach. I don't know. But that's all I have for this week. You have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, that's it.
I ended up going longer, so hopefully you enjoyed the content. If the World Cup goes on, I think of anything else I want to bring up, probably bring it up some more. Hopefully USA keeps winning. And if more stuff comes about Dusty May, I'll weigh in on that. But if there's anything else you want us to talk about, let us know and we will see you next week.